Hey everyone, it's wrap up time. So let's have a look at February and all the things that I've done. First of all, the videos. We talked about finding time to read this month because I kind of didn't pick up the book that I was reading and I wanted to know if you do the same thing. And a lot of you said yes, if you really love the book, you find a lot of time to read it. But if it's just okay, you just space it out a little bit more and do other things. And we all thought that was okay. And I really like that. Also, I noticed that apparently there's a slump going around. A lot of people said, yeah, I'm kind of slumped. And I noticed for myself that winter is not a good reading time for me. I personally like to read outside more, like taking my book places and going places. And I read less and less at home. I don't know why that is. We also talked about book bags this month. I made a video response to Leah and Marissa has since uploaded a video response to me where we all talked about the back covers of the books and what we thought about them and how they are really not used well. So go check out Leah and Marissa's video and thank you all for your comments and thoughts on book bags. Another discussion we had was about review copies, or rather I made a video response to Jenny and said why I don't accept review copies. And I really enjoyed your comments. It was very insightful. I really liked how you all explained how you're dealing with review copies, if you like them, if you don't like them, what you like about them. And a lot of you mentioned NetGalley, where you can request a book that you're interested in and that way you read it and you really want to read it instead of people just spamming you with offers for their books that you are not interested in. And I really like that. That's a much nicer idea of the review world and functioning thing that the review copies could give. Thank you for enlightening me on that side. I also uploaded a very short video, which is, I think, a poem that I kind of came up with, which is just me talking about me and trying to be okay with who I am. And I really thank you all for liking the video. I wasn't really sure. And of course, I wrote a letter to February and thank you all very much for your responses and keep telling me what your February was like, if you had a good February or not. And now let's talk about the books. The book that I tried to read and ended up DNFing was of course NW, because I really couldn't get into it, so I decided to give it away and ask you, who wants to have it? I wrote down all your names. Pick one. Sylvia from Wish Fulfillment. Sylvia, I'll contact you and then you just send me your address. Sorry for everyone who didn't get the book, but maybe give it a try, see if your library has it. Only shortly what I didn't like about the book. I really didn't like the writing style. The sentences were very short and cropped and I didn't really get what they wanted to tell me, if that had a purpose. I sometimes didn't know who was talking, and the characters, I just couldn't care about the characters. I really only got 80 pages in and then I gave up. It's very early for me to give up, but I just couldn't be bothered with the story, the people. I'm not sure what this book wanted to do with me. And because I was slumped, I read quite a lot, but not a lot for the rest of the month. I did a huge clearing out of short stories and novellas on my e-reader. So I read 2 Doctor Who novellas that came out for the 50th anniversary and I liked them. They were fun stories. They were nothing super special. I liked the one by Patrick Ness a little bit better than the one by Owen Colfer. Then I discovered that I still hadn't read the short novellas from Caleb J. Ross series, Meet My Father, The Internet. And I read the 2 that were out on ebook as well. And he since published another one, a 3rd one as a podcast, which I listened to. And they're fun. If you like Caleb, or if you don't know, Caleb is another booktuber. He's out and not making a lot of videos lately. He's also a writer and he has a lot of podcasts going on. I think that's his new interest right now. So if you like his humor, you will like these short stories. They're just fun and you can hear his voice in there. If you don't like his crude humor, you might not like the books. But I just wanted to read them since I had them and they just entertained me a lot. Thanks, Caleb. Another ebook I read was a recommendation by Michelle, and seriously, if you're not following Michelle, you need to do that. She keeps reading the most interesting stuff and makes me buy it, and I just love that. The Dead Lake by Hamid Ismailov is the last ebook I read this month, and it's a short story about growing up or about the development of this young man We meet one man on a train going to Kazakhstan, and another young man boards the train with his violin. And this is an interesting man because he looks like he's 12 years old, but he says he's 27. So he tells his story to the traveler. We get the story through the words of the boy, but also sometimes retold by the traveler. And it's a very interesting concept that we keep flipping back and forth between the traveler's story and travels and the young boy's story. And the story of the boy is super interesting. We learn how he grew up near a railway station and near a nuclear test bombing site in Kazakhstan. And this book is all about how he grew up in this really, really tiny space with 9 people, his grandparents, his mother, the uncle, and the neighbors who were basically the grandfather's partner's family. And it's kind of a love story, it's a family story, there is a lot of intrigue going on, and there's always this fight that the Russians want to beat the Americans, and we see all these nuclear bombings going on, and it's all about the effects of these nuclear bombings on this small family gathering, and it's just fascinating. I just flew through it. It's 128 pages. It was very interesting. It was really nicely written, and I just loved it. Thanks, Michelle. But I didn't only read ebooks this month. I also finished 3 paper books, one of which was a reread. All My Friends Are Superheroes by Andrew Kaufman. You've heard me rave about this book before. I just love the writing. I love how it makes you look at your friends and the qualities they have. Sylvia, you've been thinking about flaws lately. You should read this book. You will like it. And I also read 2 more novels in the Mist series by Robert Asprin, Sweet Life of Mystery and Mission Improbable. In Sweet Mystery of Life, we see Skeeve struggling with a decision to either marry Queen Hamlet or become Queen of Puzzledom, which neither he wants to do. And he's really strung out and he doesn't know what to do. He keeps asking his friends for advice and they all are just supportive and want to help him. And I really liked this story, not only because I could dive back into the world of Skeeve and all his friends, but also it dealt with so many things. There were a lot of perspectives on marriage. There was a lot of perspective on different roles women have in society and on what to do, on dating. Also, Skeeve has developed this minor drinking problem, so that is also addressed. It's very short, but there are so many things in this book that it's just a pleasure to read. This book ends pretty open-ended and we are promised that it continues in the next book, but the next book doesn't. This is jumping back in time to an earlier time in their adventures, and it's basically a treasure hunt where Skeeve and Tananda and As are going on a treasure hunt for a golden cow on a planet with vampire cows. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. A lot of fun. And what I liked here is that we go back in time and see Skeeve in the beginning of his adventures. He's a lot more naive, a lot more stupid in a way. He has a way of not knowing things, and there are a lot of plays with words and phrases in this book that I've really, really enjoyed. Now, why this isn't the continuation of this book is explained. Robert Asprin had a lot of problems, personal and financial problems with the IRS, and he couldn't really write for a very long time. So he said continuing this story would have been too complicated, so he followed the advice of a friend and jumped back in time and wrote something completely different, and I think it was a good idea. But now I still want to know how the story continues. The only thing on audio that I finished in February was My Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, and I can't say I really liked it that much. The writing was not special for me. I couldn't get into it, I wasn't that much interested, and I felt it very repetitive. I can understand what you wanted to do, and maybe it works for other people, but for me it just didn't, especially since I hadn't read anything else by her. A lot of you recommended I should try something else, and I definitely will, don't worry. I'm going to continue with her work, and I will see how something else by her will appeal to me. Alright, so it sounds like I read a lot, but I actually only read short stuff this month. But I'm really looking forward to March, and I'm looking forward to hear or read what you have read in February, so let's talk about how fantabulous your February was. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.